I'm Dr. Gerald Deas. Welcome to Health Center from Downstate Medical Center. Today you will experience of seeing and hearing a becoming new doctor. In another couple of months he'll be MD. I've had the advantage and the wherewithal to look at this student go from the first year through the fourth year and see development of a medical doctor. Making a medical doctor. That is really something when you think about it. In 4 years, you have to take all the things that you have in books and so forth, and examinations and sleepless nights and all the things you give up to become a medical doctor. And that is a sacrifice. It truly is a sacrifice, because that's not the end. At the end of the 4 years, it is another 4 years in training, whether it's in surgery or ENT, ear, nose, and throat, or ophthalmology, and that can even go to 5 or 6 years. And so you take the most important time of your life, like the age, say, of 21 or 22, and you're going to take the next 8 or 9 years and put into study. That is a sacrifice. And people look at a doctor and they ask, why does a doctor maybe charge this or charge that? But if a plumber comes into the house and they say this, or an electrician comes in the house, they say that, and that takes as much training, a lot of training also. But just think of all the training and sacrifices and really living with a very low budget during these times. I'm not making any excuses for doctors or anything like that, but the thing is that it's something that you're not coming in to make money. There's no way in the world you come into medicine to make money. It is too intense. It's too emotional, it's too draining, it's too much sacrifice. So you have to have a passion for human beings. And I think on the opening statements that students have to make when they come into medical school, they have to talk about why they want to become a doctor. You know, sometimes little children will say, I want to be a pediatrician. Well, the name sounds good, but a pediatrician is a long training and so forth. And preparation up to that is usually 4 years of college, 4 years of high school, certainly 4 years of college, and then you go to 4 years of medical school, and then you have 4 years of your training and so forth. So that's a lot of time in your life. But I'm not making, again, excuses for why we're choosing these kind of things. We just want to be aware that when you go and see that doctor, that he has given up a lot to become a physician to take care of you. Today I have a wonderful student who's now going to get his MD in May of this year, medical doctor, after 4 years of intense training. And when I first met him, it was a wonderful experience seeing this young man and having to come to my office to seek out some advice and things like that. And so we became friends during that time also. I think the greatest thing between a teacher and a student to be a friend, you know, and for them to, so you can mentor them through this times. As you know, African American doctors are not very, we just don't have a great number of African American doctors or young people who want to come into medical school. And I know it's difficult, but we need more doctors. And so I want you to be, to know that at Downstate here, I'm certainly available, and many others are available to counsel you. So if you know someone interested in medicine, by all means, tell them to inquire from myself, Dr. Gerald Deas, right here at Downstate Medical College, and I'll be glad to sit down and talk with them. But the student here today is my pre-MD, Ike Swaby.
Dr. Deas.
Yeah, man.
I wanna, just take this opportunity to first of all thank you so much, very earnestly, for inviting me on this show. It's been a golden opportunity to reach the community, and I've been very humbled and honored, by the relationship we've had. You've been a true friend and a mentor all these 4 years, and here we are in the fourth year and the fourth part of this mini-series, and it's just a golden opportunity to reach the community, and I thank you very much. Yeah. And I also wanted to say that even though this whole path has been a long path, a lot of hard work, one of the things Dr. Deas said is absolutely golden, which is your passion for humanity and for sciences, though it might sound a little cliche, is really what drives you through. And there's been a lot of fun moments as well. Right. And that's what I've often, that's my motivating force, not fear of a bad grade or anything like that, but just enjoying it all and it's been a great experience.
Well, you know, preparation for getting into medical school, like it's just give the audience some idea of where you're from, family, a little bit about your family, and what drove you in this direction, and what prepared you even to get to the point where you wanted to take the entrance examinations to get into medical school, the MCATs and all this kind of thing. Just a little background of yourself. Take yourself back to where you were born and bring it on up.
Well, originally I was born in Jamaica to a nurse, to parents who were a nurse. My mom's a nurse, and my father was an artist.
I see.
And you know, I think at an early age, I was always the young man asking why. You know, why is the sky blue? Why does something fall when you throw it up? I was always interested in the mechanisms behind things, and I think from an early age I had an attraction to science, and you know, I found a great fascination therein. And so all throughout, you know, junior high, high school, I was a little bit more drawn to, you know, science courses. Though at the end of high school, you know, I also had a passion for speaking and political science and getting involved in, you know, community activities and so forth. So it was a little bit of a toss-up. But I decided upon going to graduating high school, I moved up from Jamaica at around 9th grade. And my family, you know, we're a little bit of Jamaicans. We've always been going back and forth to live, work, study, and travel and so forth. But coming up in 9th grade, I finished up high school here, and going
What
on
high
to
school was that?
And that was when I first came up. That was high school in Long Island, in Oyster Bay High School. And upon graduating there, applied to several colleges. I was accepted to Columbia. And I was, you know, I wasn't sure what I was going to study. Was I going to study poli-sci and kind of go into a more pre-law type of path to get involved in policy, which is something very passionate for me, or was I going to go into the sciences? And I decided that I wanted to study the divine laws, divine laws of biochemistry and so forth. And that's what led me through. I felt that, you know, you can always get in policy. There's many paths to policy. So that's what led me to that undergraduate degree.
Well, getting back to Oyster Bay High School, you must have been one of a few African Americans or Jamaicans in the classes.
Yes. It was a small high school. It was a class of population of about 400, and at the time there was literally only about 15 to 20 African American, you know, students. I should say students of African descent.
How did that affect
I was
you?
you know,
Did you feel any different, or did you just forget the difference and just move on with your own intellectability?
I think at the time coming up from Jamaica, there were certain socialization issues. You know, I was someone who my family always placed a huge premium on education and on doing well. And you know, I'm a competitive type of person. I hate to be the last in anything or not doing well. So I think at the time I struck socialization issues because I was somebody who was speaking, you know, the Queen's English and trying to do very well in school. And many of the kids were taken aback. They would say things like, you know, Ike, you know, why are you trying to be white? You know, which always bothered me because I didn't associate doing well in school with being white, you know. But I think after after 10th, 11th grade, people got very used to me. I was usually the only minority in many of the advanced placement classes and honors classes, but I was somebody who was always asking questions and thinking outside the book, especially when it came to analyzing socio-political conditions, and at an early age. And I remember often in class it would be me versus the class, in class discussions and so forth. So if anything, I think being apart just only strengthened me. You know, it never, and I was shortly very much welcomed by the community out there. But being different, being apart, I think only strengthened my resolve to continue with the studies.
Did you play sports while you were in high school?
I was avid, played a lot of soccer. I also played track and taekwondo. Some activities I've continued. I think I've continued all of them except the soccer. I don't play so much track.
So you were really developing the intellect, the physical, the spiritual, and all the other things along those lines. Yeah. How did your spirituality? How did that affect you in your drive at that time? I'm sure that you had certain amount of spiritual things happening in your home, or what you were participating in your home and so forth.
I think one of the great things about being a spiritual person, if you consider yourself that, or you know, if you have spiritual beliefs or religious beliefs, is that you know we're very much spiritual beings having a human experience rather
Right.
than a human beings having a spiritual experience. And I think that fundamental fact, whatever religion you are, religion reminds you of that. And so you stay grounded in deeper principles. And I feel like it's a source of strength. And I felt like that's what Rastafarianism was for me growing up. I am a Rastafarian. My parents are. And that was a source of strength in continuing on towards my goals.
Yeah.
You don't let the little setbacks of life, the little ups and downs in life perturb your trajectory.
Oh yeah, I found that myself. I being a Christian, I went to Sunday school. I taught Sunday school, mentored so many young people in Sunday school and things like that. But that spirituality of going to that church each Sunday and worshiping and having parents to worship with you and things like this, that was a calming force in my life too, and because there's so many things that happen in African Americans' life in this country that can be so depressing and so overwhelming. You would think they could drive us into the ground, but every time you get those experiences, you look like you sprout up higher, because it starts building character. I always talk about a butterfly, in a cocoon. If you take a cocoon with a butterfly in it, if you take a razor blade and just slice it on the edge to make it easier for the butterfly to come out of the cocoon, when he comes out after you use the opening, help him, he dies very quickly.
Wow.
He dies immediately. It seems like that last push of opening that cocoon develops the whole power in getting the wings ready to fly.
Wow.
Wow.
That's an excellent analogy, Dr. Deas.
So that force that you need, those things, those adversities, can make you strong as the devil. You know what I mean? Because you can then fight any kind of difficulty.
I have to agree wholeheartedly. If anything, I'm someone, if you want to discourage me, try and use reverse psychology. Tell me that I can't do it. Don't tell me that I can't do it. And, I think to do anything, you have to be serious about it. And when people tell you can't do it, and you really have to reach down and deep within yourself and realize you want to do this. This is your life.
Right.
There's only one chance you get to walk the planet Earth.
That's
and there's
right,
only
man.
one time that you have these circumstances at your disposal, these people in your life, these friends, this family, these opportunities.
That's right.
And are you going to let everything here, these opportunities, these times, these people, are you going to let all of these times venture for negativity, venture to despondency? Are you going to let life beat you? Or are you going to let these times be a majestic time? Are you going to write a good story?
That's right.
Each of us are writing a history book.
Right.
And in the end, you only have to answer to your own morals and to the Creator above and to humanity. So
Surely.
in the end, that's who you answer. You don't have to answer to people who are discouraging you along the way.
Right.
You know?
They talk in Christianity about the resurrection. And they say they know the resurrection took place because there's a crater after the explosion.
Wow.
There's a crater. It was definitely happened,
Well, it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of things in the Bible, and I think, when you look at, religion and science,
Right.
Religion tries to explain things in a very global manner. The microcosm can be the macrocosm, and you can explain things. Science very empirically explains things based on experiments, but if you look in the Bible, you find evidence for a lot of things way ahead of science. Like it's written in the Bible in Isaiah that the world is a globe, long before Europeans had confirmed it with Columbus's trip and so forth.
Oh, sure.
So I think it really is miraculous that there's many ways of arriving at knowledge. Even though I'm a scientist, I'm a spiritual person too.
It's really interesting because in the 2 Samuel in the Old Testament, they talked about a plague that hit the people, and they described bubonic plague right to the medical point of the glands swelling and bursting open and things like this. And what kind of symbol do you think they made to get rid of this? Was a golden rat. Now this is before the Middle Ages, when it took out almost half of Europe, the bubonic plague. Already the Israelites was associating this with the rat. And of course, it's the flea on the rat that gives you the bubonic plague.
Wow.
But a golden rat. And this is written in the Bible. I mean, they made that thing, and they were walking with the golden rat, man. They said, this is part of this disease process that's taking place. And they described it medically, like in a textbook, of the disease itself. And when the Babylonians took the ark down into Babylonia, they were carrying that rat, I'm sure, in that ark. And they got the bubonic plague. And they asked the Israelites, they said, take this ark back. We don't want it. It's something about it, man, that's killing us, you know, not realizing of that rat and the flea.
Well, you know, to use a fancy word, I hope I'm using it correctly. Maybe I shouldn't. There's a word called, I think it's called epistemology, the way we arrive at knowledge.
Yeah.
And, you know, in science, we arrive at it very empirically with experiments, and you prove everything, and it's very step by step.
Right, sure.
But that's only one way to arrive at knowledge.
That's right.
And even within science, there's always the power of the epiphany, the power of the breakthrough. You know, Albert Einstein supposedly, thought up a lot of his theory of relativity in a dream. He was also, I'm not advocating drug use in any way, but he was also known to come up with parts of the therapy when he was on an early form of acid.
Yes.
Many scientists in the lab, as you're going along, you get this breakthrough idea and you go for it. And that breakthrough idea, that idea of intuition, or, you know, that is the same, I think, path of knowledge that, you know, when you look into spirituality, people are arriving at knowledge through intuition, through a mystical kind of manner, through this kind of non-local thinking. This might sound like a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo, but the fact remains so many of the scientific inventions that we have didn't arrive all by experiments. It was this one breakthrough, this hunch that the scientists went for. PCR, the guy, I mean, the examples
There's a book called Happy Accidents. It shows a lot of the things that people got Nobel Prize with serendipity. That is, they saw something during an experiment that they didn't anticipate, and they followed that route and came up with such things as penicillin, like Fleming, Alexander Fleming, when he walked into a laboratory and he saw a mole growing in a petri dish. He didn't see any bacteria growing around it. It was a nice ring, a crescent around it. And when he took that mole, and it was penicillamine, which was a penicillin, a fungus in a sense, they developed developed penicillin, and of course they grew a whole lot of this stuff and could extract the penicillin. And that 1940 something, that set the whole antibiotic era.
And you could easily say that penicillin, burgeoning the era of antibiotics, and as also insulin, are probably two of the greatest inventions of modern medicine that probably saved huge amounts of life.
And it wasn't doctors that found the insulin.
Yeah.
It was a dog, the ones who took care of the dogs, where the pancreas was removed. And when the dogs urinated, the flies were around this urine, which was full of sugar.
Wow.
You see?
Wow.
And he reported that all this flies around the urine, you know, and there was the Isles of Langerhans laying in the tail of the pancreas had been taken out, and the dog had diabetes.
I think what this does when you look at things like happy accidents, creative breakthroughs, intuition, epiphanies, is it humbles you. Even though it's hard work that's going to get you there, it's truly something. A transcendent intelligence, if you will, that is directing you. You know, think about this. You don't have to you don't have to remind your heart to beat. You don't have to remember to push food through your stomach, or you don't have to remember to, there's some kind of indwelling intelligence therein, and this same intelligence is functioning on bigger and bigger levels.
Oh, yes.
You know, but you bring up something very interesting with penicillin, and it reminds me of something Muhammad Ali said. He said, children, stay in school. Because if they can make penicillin out of bread mold, they can make something out of you. And just taking it back to the message of school, I want to say to all the kids out there that this to really don't look at school as something, as a chore, something you go to, something your parents are sending you. Take ownership. This is your life. This is your time. This is your adolescence.
That's right.
And when you go into that classroom, take ownership. Realize that these are the skills that you're being taught.
Your tools.
That will train you to be a responsible handler of power in this society. Each of us have power. Now, you can use that power, or you can waste that power, or you can not claim it. But go into these classrooms, take ownership of it, go in and learn. Look at it like, I'm here to learn for myself, not for your mother.
No.
Not for the teacher.
Or not even for the grade.
Not for the grade.
Because I can tell you something. I got lower grades because I wanted to know more. And I wasn't getting prepared for tests. I think that's the most ridiculous thing to get children prepared for a test. Give them a thinking test. Rather than some questions that you think are so important in life. Maybe they'll bring out something that you never even thought of. So let that little brain, children are the best, they can memorize anything, but they're the worst interpreters. But they can memorize anything. You know, I was reading something the other day that the brain has something like 167 trillion tracks in the brain for memory.
Wow.
167 trillion.
Wow.
You know,
Wow. I have heard
you
that
know?
I have heard that one neuron can have up to 100,000 other neurons contacting it.
Yeah,
so
right.
that's how interlocked things are.
And
in
you
the brain.
think that these little chips that they put in people that can do all this kind of thing, can you imagine what this brain is doing, this great big brain, and they got a little chip and they think that that is comparable to a brain. No way, no way. But it simulates what we have here, the capacity to memorize, not to memorize, but to analyze and to think. And you know, I wear a hat that has the left brain and the right brain, and in the front it has, I should have brought it with me, IDs, you know, ideas, of course. And the right brain covers all of the arts and all the kind of things having to do with arts and the dance and all that kind. And the left brain is like physics and mathematics and all the technical things. But the right and left brain, they have to come together, balance out each one, so you don't go crazy in a sense. So you know, so you can't overdo one or the other. And I think sometimes what's happening with young people today, the right brain is being hit every day, every minute of the day with some type of autistic type of thing, and that left brain is just saying, give me some of it, give me some of it, give me some of it, you know what I mean, at the same time. And I think that you can numb a brain. I ask some of the children sometimes, have you ever heard of hypnosis? They say, well, sometimes they think it's an act on stage. I said, don't believe it. Hypnosis is the most powerful thing that not even doctors practice. Many doctors don't even want to practice or don't know anything about it. But you can take somebody and put them under a hypnotic state, man, and make them do things that they didn't even want to do, and then wake them up and they didn't even think they did it. That's a power.
It is powerful.
When you think so.
Well, you know, Dr. Deas, this reminds me of a poem you wrote once, and you were saying that, you know, we have these wars going on overseas. Some of them fought for reasons that are less than just or, you know, really questionable. You know, particularly we're in a conflict right now that I think is very questionable by so many the countries within the UN say it's questionable, and so much of the American people are waking up to the fact that we're over there for questionable reasons. And many of these, you know, casualties are coming back in body bags, and hopefully some of them may be candidates for transplants, you know, in terms of organs. But you can't transplant a brain. We haven't learned how to do that.
Yes, right.
And if you think about it, you know, it really is. It gets most of the blood in terms of, you know, the circulation system.
Right.
One of the first branch off is going to the carotid arteries, going up,
right.
and so. Really, you know, when you look at your life, you get up, you eat, you use the bathroom, you go to sleep again. I mean, what is life but thinking? What are you going to do in between there is you think and use your brain.
That's right.
And that's, I think, more than anything, what we really want to get out to people in the community is that to think is your greatest ability. And the thinking man is the man who is setting the stage for, you know, his own endeavors in life. If you're not a thinking man, other people will set the stage for you, and automatically you've already lost the battle.
That's
and,
right. That's
so
right.
as we are out in school, you know, children, you know, please you realize that school is teaching you how to think on a critical level. It's not some kind of chore. Look at the fun of it. Find that one class you like. Is it art class? You got to have some class you like, you know, and you just focus on that and say, I'm going to go to class for art class, and then use that and open up your brain and just start to learn other things. But realize that education is a fun thing. It's, you know, it's a lot of hard work, but it's also fun. And the ability to use your brain is really all that you have in this life. Your intellectual contribution.
Well, I tell you, you know, our time has gone by here, but we're going to continue this discussion right away also, because I think what you have to say, at least to the young African male, is so important today, because we're losing it so fast in so many ways. So I want to thank you for being with us this morning. But certainly we're going to continue this conversation. Hopefully, can change the hood a bit. You know,
So much
it's
so.
nice having you
And
with me, you know.
it's a pleasure to be here, Dr. Deas.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you so once again.
Yeah.
And for the community, I'd like to offer myself for anyone who's interested in medicine. I can be reached. I have a downstate email. It's going to be functional for at least another year, and that's I_KYORI _Swaby SWABY at downstate.edu for anyone who's interested in medicine, careers in science. If you want to talk to me about getting into schools, advice on research, anything, please call and stay in school.
Yeah, that's wonderful, sweet.